Your name's Kevin, right?
It is, yeah. As far well, you can call me anything really, but Kevin will do.
Cool. Yeah, great to meet you.
Cool, nice to meet you. Thanks for taking the time. So I'll do a quick introduction and then I'll ask you some questions and then we'll take it from there.
Yeah, perfect. Yeah.
Cool. So um, I might say your name wrong. I'll try my best. Um, so this is the 18th episode for the Climbing Flow podcast, and today's guest is none other than Sam MacIlwaine. Is that right?
Close. Close.
Close.
McElwaine.
McIlwaine. Okay, McIlwaine. So Sam MacIlwaine. Sam's currently crushing offwidths and overhanging cracks, and she's a recent writer for Climbing Magazine, and seems to have an insatiable drive to want to work hard and suffer.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Yeah, I'm happy to be here. Yeah, you want to tell me a little bit about yourself and maybe how you found me? I know that you interviewed my friend Kate recently too.
Yeah, I didn't realize you knew Kate. Just kind of going through social media and do some research on you. I saw that I think Kate pops up in some of your posts, and I think you did a climb last year. I can't remember the name of it. Some kind of overhanging off with crack thing where Kate was belaying you.
Ooh, yeah, I think Supreme Manliness is probably what you're thinking of. I got to drag her up there. Kate's very talented. Like if she wanted, I think she could be like a 513 invert off with climber. She's just had other things that she's doing recently, so I'm always trying to recruit her into the style.
Yeah. She's yeah, it was very inspiring and incredible to talk to her and I guess with the stuff that she's done. But I mean, doing some research on you, you're pretty incredible too, right?
Thanks, Kevin.
Yeah, I mean, um, I think you seem to take a real knack to kind of crack climbing and off with climbing, and and it's not really like in the olden days, it's not something that was kind of associated with kind of women climbing it because it doesn't in the olden days it's not to be seen as a womanly thing to do, right? To squeeze yourself in something off with and ended up with cuts and bruises and like trying really hard. And it's really cool to see that there are more and more women doing it.
Yeah, I mean, I think that I was kind of brought into the sport by women, and I definitely agree with you. Like it's a male dominated style for sure. I feel like all the female off-road climbers like know each other and are best friends. But yeah, I mean, when I was starting off trad climbing back in 2020, my mentor that I ended up, or the person who ended up becoming my mentor, was Mary Eden, and I learned like how to trad climb and did my first trad lead at her off with camp. So the first like cracks that I ever tried were offwidths and specifically invert offwidths, like going upside down, which is why I think that I'm so familiar with the style and why I like it so much because it just feels more familiar to me than like any other kind of crack climbing.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean she and like Kaya and Kaya Lindsay, Ashley Craycroft, like they really brought me into the sport and were super inviting and supportive. And so I feel like I've kind of grown into the sport with a bunch of other women who are just super positive and encouraging. And I know that to other people, like it seems like a male-dominated sport, but I would say like the majority, or I would say like my most frequent off-with partners are women, like Mary. And like my training partner last year was Ashley, but there are also a lot of great men that I climb with in the off-with community.
Yeah. I guess I'm not dissing the men, um,
Yeah, yeah.
but I think it's just it's great to see. I guess maybe in the climbing world, I guess women are maybe more associated with elegant and very kind of good technique style climbing, which I guess in my eyes is more kind of face climbing and like not having much experience with cracking off with climbing. Although I got two friends called Mel and Hattie, so shout out to them, who introduced me to some off-width climbing about a month ago. I have no technique. I've got strength on my side, but strength doesn't work. And I think like having experienced it properly, it's a real battle. And from what I experienced, the very little of off-width climbing that I've done, it's a real battle. You're struggling your way, inching your way up something, and it's so exhausting. It's so tiring.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely relate to that with vertical off width, and I think a lot of people you start off with vertical off width, and it's just a complete grovel, and a lot of the climbs feel the same, and so sometimes it's not that appealing. But where I really, really enjoy off width is when it gets to be overhanging roofs, and I think that that style is where you have like really advanced technique come in, like and you know it becomes very individual to you as well. It becomes a lot more like choreographed. So, like 2 weeks ago, Mary and I went and did the Paisana overhang, and we're about to like drop photos from that and stuff. Which is this like 12C off width that was put up in the 70s in California. And she goes really deep into it and just tunnels through and kind of treats it like a vertical off width, just rotated 90 degrees. But the way that I decided to do it was by doing like a full cartwheel. So you just like you kick your feet in, you drop your hands and flip around, and then you lock your hands and then you drop your feet and flip around, and just doing like a full 360 to get through it. Um,
Yeah.
which is fun and like, very precise. And you gotta I like whenever I drop my feet out, you kind of feel the full weight of your body on your hand fist tuck. And so I'm like screaming and, just grunting with effort. And I
Yeah.
think that for people who like have experienced off with and think that it's just this grovel that's not fun and not technical, I would say like try an invert boulder. Like try like a V2 or V3 invert boulder and, you know, take a look at some of the harder off widths like the roofs and stuff. And that's where I think technique really shines, and I think people can get really creative with it. And to me, it's like this beautiful, precise style that, yes, sometimes involves a lot of grunt work, but I don't necessarily see it as like just kind of super repetitive because of the kind of roofs I'm doing. They're all so unique and require different kinds of movement.
Yeah, yeah, okay. Yeah. So yet again, I guess women are maybe slightly more advanced because they're using technique. And I guess as a bloke, I use my muscle and that only gets me so far.
I mean, I feel like everyone has their own style. There are
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
definitely
yeah.
like there are both women and men who would prefer to like just grunt it out. And that's the cool thing about an invert off width is that you can decide like based on your body size and everything
Yeah.
how many crazy moves you want to do versus if you just want to kind of move through it really slowly. It depends on like what you're comfortable with
Yeah,
too.
yeah, yeah. So are you telling me that like the off width climbing and kind of overhanging crack climbing you find I wouldn't say effortless, but
No, 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 no. That's not what I was trying to say.
no,
Yeah,
okay.
not effortless. I just think it's very acrobatic and it's very
Yeah.
beautiful and it's very like precisely choreographed. So it's not necessarily this like blunt style that everybody considers vertical off with to be, but when you're moving through a roof and you're like dropping your feet down and you're going upside down, like there are very precise moves that you have to do, and it feels really cool to like do a half cartwheel or do a full cartwheel,
Yeah.
especially when you're high up and there's air below you.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So I would say like for people who don't like off with, maybe you're like me and like, the kind of moves you're going to do in roofs are a little bit more like circus-like, and that's the kind of thing that you would enjoy more than just like the slow grovel type
Yeah, yeah,
techniques,
yeah.
which
Okay.
you'll still need, but you often get a choice of how you want to climb a roof, whether you want to do it like in a more painful but secure way or in like maybe a lower percentage but lower effort way.
More flowy.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, cool. So did you do any sports when you were little? Did you do any kind of gymnastics or
I wish I was kind of that kid that did like every sport, but at like a very low level. So just like a little bit of soccer, a little bit of basketball, a little bit of volleyball. But I always wanted to be an athlete. So I remember in high school, I went to this huge high school in California, and I joined the volleyball team, like the freshman level when I was a freshman. And I wanted to be on varsity so badly, and I wanted to like just be a champion so badly, and I gave a lot of effort to it, but I simply didn't have the talent, and like I didn't have like the instincts for it too. Like I tried really hard, I ended up getting to varsity, and I had a great time with my team, but like I wasn't gonna play in college. I wasn't gonna go to like the Olympic pipeline program or anything. And so I kind of came into college and I was like, all right, what's my new sport? And I started mountain climbing because I went to school in New York City, and the I guess like biggest mountain out there was Mount Washington, which is only like 6,000 feet tall. But I trained for it, and I was like, oh, this is so incredible. Like, I don't really remember much from my freshman year of college, but I remember like every single thing that happened in the 2 days that I was on this Mount Washington like trip with this guide and these two like skydiver women that were on my team. They were so cool. But I, got really into like running marathons and doing like triathlons, and I thought that was going to be my sport. Like I was going, not like I was going to, win marathons or anything, but just that I was going to get really good at cardio. And then when I graduated college and could afford like more trips, more guided trips up mountains, I would, be taking my cardio that I'd built up and using it, and I kind of avoided rock climbing because my arms were just very weak, and I never done like an arm-based sport. All the sports I did were
Okay.
were focused on the lower body. And so when I found climbing, I had to try really hard and focus really hard on like building muscle, getting my first pull up, um, advancing through the grades, but a lot of it was just like building upper body strength. So I got into climbing near the end of college in my last year. And I felt like it was my sport right away. Like I was like, yeah, I love this puzzle solving thing. I love feeling very adventurous and a little scared all the time.
Yeah. Okay, so that I guess that's what attracts you to climbing was the puzzles and the element of fear.
hmm Yeah, the ability to like practice bravery, which is something that I've always wanted, but I haven't necessarily like had the chance to do as just a student.
Okay. Yeah. I think that's probably maybe why a lot of people enjoy climbing, and I think climbing is one of the fastest growing sports at the moment.
Yeah, no, definitely. It certainly is one of the fastest growing sports if you look at the stats of like which gyms are being built. I think part of
Yeah.
that is Free Solo winning the Oscars, and part of that
Yeah.
is just like us having a bigger presence at the Olympics.
Yeah. Completely agree. Um, but I think you obviously you must enjoy a little bit of kind of hard work and suffering, right? Because you like running marathons and doing triathlons is not just an easy feat. That that
Yeah, yeah,
that requires, I guess, some mental toughness to be open to pain, right?
totally. Yeah, and to just to clarify, I haven't run a marathon or done a triathlon in a couple years, but that was like what I was focused on for college.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, it would be cool, I think, to run like a third marathon. I think that'd be fun, or like do like a trail marathon. I have a lot of friends who do ultra marathons now, and
Yeah.
I mean, currently, like the thing I'm training for my hardest off with, and it's getting quite aerobic. Like I've started running again because I think I just need to work on my breathing and make sure that I can handle like, 20 minutes, 15 minutes, like
Yeah.
however long it's going to be in the crack. Whereas I think up until now, I haven't really felt the need to work on cardio extensively in my climbing.
Yeah. And how's that training going? I'm
It's
guessing it's
going
a
really well.
century crack, right?
Yeah, so that's the goal. I've never been to Century Crack, and I haven't like touched it because it's closed for bighorn sheep net like lamb. They call it lambing season in the spring. So it opens August 31st, and it's going to be like boiling hot in the White Rim. But the goal is to go for that and see how many seasons it takes me. Because that's kind of like the ultimate off with rock climb. I know Tom Randall's put up, Autobahn, but
He's put
something
up
about that.
what? Autobahn. Ah, right.
Yeah,
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah,
That
so
one.
that's like technically like the hardest offense in the world, and like all credit to him, but it's just not as appealing as like a real rock
Of
to
course not.
me. So yeah, Century is just so legendary, and I'm really excited to like try it out, but it's like exponentially, at least in my mind, like it's exponentially harder than anything else I've ever tried. Like I'm in the 6 month training program with Mary that we're doing together just so
Yeah.
that we don't have to like go through it alone. And we're like halfway through, and honestly, for the last 2 months, every single workout that we've done, we do like two main, like, crack trainer workouts a week, has been harder than every single 513 off width that I've ever done. Like, I would rather do any of the 513 off widths I've done. I'd rather do belly full twice a week than
Yeah.
do these workouts because they're
Okay.
just so much more exhausting. So I don't know. I didn't realize that 514 was like a whole, what is it called? Like a whole like exponent like harder than 513, because for me like the 512s and 513s and off width kind of flow into each other. They feel very comparable.
Yeah.
And like, the 513 off widths I think are only like a little bit harder than some of the hardest 512s. But this just feels like a whole different beast, especially because of the length, I think the longest off width I've done is maybe like, I mean, belly full was like maybe 70 feet, but only maybe like 20 feet of that was upside down for me. So I
Yeah.
think the longest like I've been upside down is probably the Angry Pirate or Gabriel, which are like 50 feet. Um, so this one is going to be 120 feet of upside down, and you're going to have to carry so many cams that are all like huge sizes. So we're really like trying to train in the crack trainer to be able to go for a really long time, and it's just bringing me to like levels of pain that I've never had. I've never had to use the double fist stack for this long. Like I've
Yeah.
only used it maybe like two or three times on a route before, even at like the 513 level, and
Yeah.
then I've also never had to like hang off my feet until they literally go numb before and then figure out how to breathe through that and continue climbing. It's
Yeah.
just insane. Like the stuff we're doing in the garage just blows my mind. So I hope it's enough when we get to the fall. But it's been really fun to train with Mary. We have like a good playlist going, good energy, good momentum to like keep each other accountable.
Wow. That sounds like hard work. Very
Thanks.
focused.
Yeah.
You're a very focused personality.
Thanks. Yeah, I mean, I love having like an all-consuming goal that just takes over your life and makes everything very simple. Because whatever you're trying to do that year, or in those couple of weeks, you're just like, well, whatever the project needs is what I'm going to do. So you only have to like commit to one thing, and then where you travel, like, you can even be as granular as like what you eat, but like where you go, who you hang out with, like all your whole life is kind of influenced by this goal. And it makes things really easy, especially when you're like me and you get caught up in like so many different goals and you want to try like all these different styles and all these
Yeah.
different
Yeah.
places. It simplifies life a lot.
Yeah. 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 But that's a 6 month training program. And how, I guess, when did you decide you wanted to go for Century Crack?
Well, I actually didn't decide. So last year, I did my first like couple 513s, which is like a milestone for me. And there are quite a few like really great 513 off widths to go for. And I was kind of working my way through my first few, and then I was in Squamish with Mary, and she's done like all of the hard 513 off widths like in the country, like almost all of them she's done. And so I'm like, okay, well, I have like a lot more to go through. And I'd always thought of Century Crack as like the thing I would do when there was nothing left because I would just be so prepared. But then she asked me to train for it and was like, yeah, I'm going to go for it next year. Like, I want you to train for it. I want you to be my partner. And I thought she was joking. I was like, are you serious? Because we know that most of the people who have trained for Century successfully have trained for at least 2 years, and have just totally dedicated like their whole lives to it.
Yeah.
And I was, obviously very stoked at the idea of going for this massive like goal with her. But I wouldn't have thought that I was ready unless she's like, oh no, we can train for it. Like you can be ready. So I knew that we were going to start training for it this year. So I spent a lot of the last year trying to like get all my other projects done that were like front of mind and really a priority for me. Like belly full was something I'd thought about for so long. Um, so yeah, I mean, she kind of approached me and told me like I was ready. And so I'm hoping that she's right. And so far with training, like it has been interesting to like, try to match your mentor like lap for lap. And when that doesn't happen, when she's like a little bit ahead, sometimes it gets in my head of like, oh, am I really this qualified? But I'm
Yeah.
trying to just focus on like, we have this whole calendar of just for our PRs. Like we have like a training calendar, and then we bought a second like massive calendar
Yeah.
that we just put in all our PRs so that when we feel discouraged, we can look back and be like, wow, we've been improving for 3 months straight, like
Yeah.
significantly. So,
Yeah.
yeah, trying to keep my confidence up and just focus on like how far we've come.
Oh, I love that. I like
Yeah.
that. Just writing down your achievements and kind of look back on that.
Yeah, totally. And we'll write down like if we try the same workout multiple weeks in a row because we haven't succeeded yet as a team, like we'll write down how many of the sets we like completed successfully and how many we like fell at. And so you'll see those numbers go up. And I don't know, they're like small little details, but they mean so much to me. Like I'm always aware of like, what my crack trainer PR is and what I'm trying to get to this week. And sometimes it's stressful. Like in the days leading up, you're like, oh God, like my feet are gonna go numb tonight. I'm so
Yeah.
nervous.
But adds
Yeah.
pressure, doesn't it? Adds pressure on yourself to want to achieve, and I guess the pressure of or the thought of having to endure pain.
Yeah, yeah, it's hard when you know what's coming. But
Yeah,
it's also nice because you just want to get it over with at some point. So you go and sit down the crack trainer, the music's blasting, like
yeah.
your partner's already in it, and then it's cool because we have like different strengths. For me, like I enjoy the weighted workouts that are like shorter distance, a lot more than the ones where it's like less weight and longer distance. And so we trade off like who goes first. And whoever goes first, they kind of set the standard of like, okay, like, Mary just completed a 15-minute set. Like she's
Okay.
thrown down the gauntlet. Now I'm just like, okay, I want to do that because she set that standard. Um,
Yeah.
yeah. So it's fun. I mean, it's definitely I can't imagine doing this without a
Inwardly
partner.
competing.
Yeah, well, just trying to like keep up, you
Yeah,
know?
yeah, yeah. Yeah, but
Yeah, like
it's
keeping
nice,
up is
isn't
such a
it?
success. Yeah.
Yeah, I climb with a lot of mates and I always compete with them, although it doesn't really matter whether I get to their level or not. And it's nice climbing with people that climb harder than me. Yeah.
hmm
It's just
Yeah,
something.
I feel like I've been so surrounded by like all the off with people that climb harder than me that
Yeah.
sometimes I'm just like, oh yeah, this is normal. Like doing, like hanging upside down by your ankles all day for multiple days in a row is super normal and super
It's
chill.
not
And like that's
normal.
just that's just what people do. Because I just have
Yeah,
like
yeah,
I'm
yeah.
friends with so many people who do it.
Yeah, but I mean you started climb you started trad climbing in 2020, right?
hmm
That's an incredible road to what you've achieved to now, like 5 years. I think there are people that will work a really long time to get to the level that you're climbing at.
Thank you. I mean, I've been pretty focused on it since I started. I've like, I haven't really taken breaks from climbing except short breaks for like injuries.
Yeah.
And in 2020, I started trad climbing, and then in 2022, I moved into my car. I was living in Denver before that. I'd actually moved out to Denver from New York City that same year, and yeah, so like when I moved into my car, I was able to climb a ton. And then in 2023, at the end of the year, I got laid off from my full-time job. So I
Which
spent like
was
I was a back-end software engineer
okay.
for a truck rental company in Denver. I have a degree in computer science, and that's kind of like the industry I'd been in for 10 years since I was a teenager. And I got laid off at the end of 2023. And then for like a year and a half, I basically just climbed nonstop. I, was a Yosemite climbing steward, and I was so privileged to just be able to like be out there trying hard 5 days a week. And I think that's why I saw a lot of growth. And then now I have a job more so and I'm really excited and privileged to be able to write and have like, a chance to be in a new industry. A lot of people I think don't get that or at least like scared that they won't get that.
Okay.
But my climbing is definitely slowed down now that I have a job, and it kind of makes me like look back and be like, wow, that year and a half of just straight dirt bagging on savings was like really fun and really important for my development.
So I got two questions. Like one, how do you go from computer sciences to writing articles?
Um, so I was working a full-time software engineering job, and I was doing that for 3 years after college. And I knew I wanted to switch to writing, and I had the same question. I was like, is this even possible? How do I switch over? I don't have a
Yeah,
degree in writing. I don't have connections. I don't have any like education or qualifications for this.
yeah,
Um, but I don't know. I think you just have to like the first step is getting your first piece out there. So I wrote a piece for Gripped about Purity Ring, which is a crack boulder that my friend Tyler put up in the South Platte of Colorado, and it's this incredible crack boulder. And for about 2 weeks, there was like kind of a storm of people that descended upon it and were trying to send it before it closed for the season.
yeah.
And I thought it was a really interesting story, and the crack itself was super cool. And so I wrote a piece on that. And then once I had my first byline, I think that kind of opens the door because after that you can pitch people and you can say, hey, well, here's an example of some great writing that I've put out. And
Yeah,
if you
yeah,
don't have that byline yet, then it's kind of hard to convince editors to hire you. So
yeah,
after that, I started pitching freelance, and I was still working my job, so I wasn't really like pitching that hard. But then when I got laid off, I was like, okay, this is the universe saying like, it's your chance. This is your time. Clearly you weren't brave enough to quit your job and pursue writing.
yeah,
Um, so now you get kind of a kick in the butt. And I was like, okay, I'm going to take a year and I'm going to just pursue writing. And if I can't succeed, then I'll go back to tech and
cool.
I'll get a job in tech. So I was trying to like outrace that. And I ended up, uh, putting out some freelance pieces for climbing. And
Yeah,
that was great. But then I still didn't really understand how I was going to make a living as a freelancer. And so for a while, I was like, oh, okay, I need to get into like the glossy print magazines and do like bigger features. Maybe that's the way to like make it financially sustainable. And I was interested in long form stuff anyways. But then, unexpectedly, I got referred to this job by the editor that I had been writing for. And then I spent like 3 months interviewing and, just kind of in like a Hunger Games for the one media job that was open in the outdoors right now. And um, yeah, I was really, really lucky that the team decided to take a chance on me and was really trying to prove myself for like the first couple weeks because I don't have a traditional background. But I do think that like being a climbing dirtbag and living in my car and like, interacting with so many people across the main climbing areas of the US was an asset that helped me overcome the lack of like experience and education I had in writing because I brought with me so many um, connections to like different people and a really deep like subject knowledge that I think is necessary
yeah,
for working in
yeah,
climbing magazines.
yeah. I
So
agree.
yeah, those were all things that worked in my favor.
Yeah, cool. That's really cool. One, well done for making a step into something that you, I guess, really enjoy. I think
Thanks.
I read a statistic recently which stated that 60% of people are doing a job they don't enjoy, which sounds to me, I don't know, it sounds sad, not great. And I think it takes bravery to push yourself to do something that you really want to do that you're currently not doing. I think people sometimes choose comfort over the unknown. And like you said, I don't think you need a background in something that you really want to do. You can relearn by researching, by trying, and you'll learn as you go along.
Yeah, I mean, and also like it's gonna happen in a way that you don't see it. Like when I didn't think there was any chance of me like, getting a writing job, but I had my one byline, I was like, okay, well, all you need is to prove that you can do like another really good article. You just need to like get a couple editors who believe in you. But I just told everybody around me, I was like, th this is what I want. Like I'm very clear, like I want to be a professional writer. I want to be climbing and writing full time and like totally engaged in this world. And I didn't know how I was going to get there, but I think if you just like tell people that all the time, like whenever people are like, "What's up? How's it going with life?" You're like, "Oh, well, this is where I'm trying to go." Then people want to help you, and it'll just happen. Like I think you got to manifest it and ask for
Yeah,
help. And even if you don't think you can get there, like if you're super clear on what you want,
yeah,
then you can at least make progress towards that. And I would have never imagined that I would be in this job like so quickly after I wanted to switch into the new career. But like yeah, I believe in manifestation. Like I think if you work really hard and just tell people this is what you're going for, like sometimes really magical things can happen.
yeah. But things don't just happen, right? Think,
Totally. You have to really work hard.
yeah, yeah, you do, yeah. Things don't just happen, and I know that you just mentioned if you tell enough people, but I think the hard work came from you, right? You put the time in, you put the graft in, and you've achieved. You're now employed by Climbing Magazine to write articles for them, right? That's off your own back. Nobody else has done the work for you.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate that. Yeah, I mean, one of the reasons I think that I was like a strong candidate for this job was that I did this really big investigation into climbing gym unions in the spring of 2024. And I like went beyond what my contract was, and I ended up writing this like 6,000 word piece that um I did like I don't know, maybe like 20 something interviews over 3 months and submitted like 9 drafts. Like I really was a perfectionist about it and wanted it to be something that like represented the best of my ability because I know that like I, or I knew I was still new and I was like everything I write is me proving myself. Um so yeah, I mean, I definitely agree with that. You have to work really, really hard and love it. That's also a thing. Like
Yeah,
I knew that computer science isn't the thing that I would be doing if I wasn't getting paid, if I like just had a bunch of free time.
yeah,
I like logic puzzles and I like, I love like researching and I love poetry and I love reading. And so I was like, okay, well, obviously I'm supposed to be a writer because that's what I like doing for fun the most. And I'm supposed to be a
yeah,
climber.
yeah,
So I knew it was something that was in alignment with like what I wanted, but and my like truest self. But I just didn't know how to get there logistically. So yeah, I mean, I agree with you. You gotta work hard. You gotta be ready for the opportunities,
yeah,
but just don't give up on yourself. Like if you are trying to be in a completely different career than you are right now um, you know, like you have to imagine that that your future self is talking to you and like explaining how you did it and explaining that there are some things that happened in that path that were just really miraculous and like unexpected and other people pull through for you sometimes.
yeah.
But you're still gonna work really hard. And if you don't work really hard, like then maybe you don't even want it that much.
Yeah, maybe people don't know how to work hard. That's one thing. Maybe people are scared to. I think to make a change of career is quite a big thing, right? It's going into the unknown, and I think sometimes people are afraid of the unknown because they know what they know, and the unknown presents something they don't know. So
Hmm.
why give something up that you know and understand what it gives you, i.e., a job with a certain income and certain amount of security? Why give that up to something that who knows if it's going to work out or not? Um,
Totally. And like, I'll admit, like, I wasn't brave enough to fully believe in myself and quit my like cushy tech job to pursue this,
yeah,
new hard thing that was going to be like, a way lower salary and that I'd had like less of a chance of like success and stability in. So sometimes you also just need a kick from the universe. So you need,
yeah, yeah, yeah,
it's
yeah.
it's okay to not it's okay. Like I beat myself up a lot for not being brave enough to do that. And
Okay.
so I was kind of grateful when I got laid off because I was like, finally, like I have to do it.
Yeah, 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 yeah. The universe is pushing you. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, but you, I think it sounds like you put a lot of pressure on yourself, right? I think you have high expectations of yourself. You are extremely focused by all the things you're telling me. You're an extremely focused person, right?
Oh,
Like the amount
thanks.
of the amount of work you're putting in, like the goals you're setting yourself, even with the stuff you're talking about, like trying to train for century crack, right? That it's not just a case of, oh yeah, let's go and do that. I guess that requires a lot of hard graft and dedication. As you put into your writing, it seems to like you're putting into that your training.
Yeah.
And with all the things you've achieved, right? A list of some of the stuff, like some of your sense from recent times, like it's pretty impressive.
Thanks. I mean, I appreciate it. I feel like, yeah, I ask myself really frequently like what I want. And I like having a goal. I'm definitely like a really goal-oriented person.
Yeah.
I just feel like super comfortable when I'm on a journey and I have this particular like
Obsession.
dream and yeah, and like even if it hasn't happened yet, if I'm making progress, it's just kind of addictive.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I talk a lot about like the gods of linear progress, which I do for a couple of reasons, because like I think it's important when you're ambitious and you want a lot of things to be a little bit like not woo-woo, but like to have a little bit of faith and kind of be playful with the idea that things happen for kind of like magical reasons. Like you could be religious, you could be someone that is very like spiritual. You could just be like super open-minded and optimistic, but I think it's important to accept the idea that like you will succeed in the future and you don't necessarily know how that's going to happen yet. I listen to like whenever I'm feeling kind of discouraged, I listen to these two speeches over and over. One of them is Dick Costolo, who used to be the CEO of Twitter, and he's giving the speech at the University of Michigan about how he like kind of progressed in his career. And he talks about how he graduated with a computer science degree and then he went to Chicago and was just working at Crate and Barrel and trying to be a comedian. And it talks a lot about like why he did that, even though he probably would have been more successful like going straight into computer science and how like learning to make decisions that bet on yourself and that taught you resilience and were kind of driven from your passion and not from fear led him eventually to like be in the position that he was in.
Yeah.
And then I also listened to Steve Jobs talking at Stanford. I think it's 2004 or 2003, I'm not
Yeah.
sure. But he gave this big commencement speech where he's like, you have to trust that the stars are going to align and like you can't draw that path looking forward. And he talks about, you know, building Apple, being completely kicked out of the company, and then eventually coming back and leading it to great success. And
Yeah.
he's like, you could never have predicted that at the moment where you're driving away and like you've just been fired, you've just lost everything. You're not going to imagine that the whole board is going to like invite you back and you're going to be put in control again. And so you have to just believe in something. It can be God, it can be like yourself, it can be some prophecy or whatever, but you
Yeah.
have to imagine like it's all going to work out. And if you don't have that faith, like that's actually a detriment to you. So that's something I try to cultivate because I'm not religious, but I really like, um, you know, being around people who are super optimistic and believe that like the world is secretly on their side and things are all working out and they're just like being sent clues from their future selves of like the success and happiness they're gonna have. And so
Yeah.
I'm always talking about like in our worst crack training sessions that are just so painful, where like Mary and I are like straining our ankles and we're like, oh my God, this is so hard. Or we're like just dying from the heat in Moab in summer. I talk a lot about the gods of linear progress because I'm like they're watching us, and if we ask them for just a little bit of improvement, they'll give it to us. But if we ask for too much or we're not proud of what we've done so far, then they're gonna take it away. They're gonna be offended. Like we have
Yeah.
to stay on track with that and worship them properly. And now
Yeah.
she's bought into it too, you know.
Yeah. Okay. So you must have angles of steel at the moment.
I do, yeah.
Yeah. So what does your training session in the week look like on training for Century Crack?
So there's a lot of like supplemental work, but for the crack trainer, we're kind of making it up as we go along and basing it off of like, Tom and Pete's programs and Danny's programs. But what we're doing right now is like twice a week, we go into the crack trainer, and one of the sessions is trying to push our PR for just how long we can shuffle back and forth.
Yeah.
And then the other session is doing like shorter laps but increasing the weight. And it's kind of hard because Mary's crack trainer is pretty low to the ground, so we can't like hang weights off our harness. So we're actually wrapping these like ankle weights. We're making like a chain of ankle weights and wrapping it around our waist. But
Yeah.
sometimes that goes up onto your stomach and like your diaphragm and it like
And you
you've
can't
got
breathe
like
properly.
35 pounds on your lungs. Yeah, it's like hard to breathe, especially upside down. So I think we're gonna try to build a harness that just has the weights hanging from like the gear loops.
Why don't
But
you
in a
raise
really
the
like
crack trainer?
we have already, but it's still too low. It was like really low when it started. So yeah, we're like working through that, and we're definitely gonna, I think, move to a harness-based approach because it's getting really hard to breathe. Um, but yeah, those sessions are great because those really work out your abs. And for Century, like I always think of it in terms of like there's three things that could fail. There's your hands, which honestly are like a big concern for me because upper body is not my main strength in climbing. Because you're doing double fist stacks the whole time. Like the
Yeah.
guys and most of the guys that I know who are like, doing this or have done it, use hand fist stack,
Yeah.
which means you can switch hands, which is
Yeah.
kind
Yeah.
of
Yeah.
nice. But for us, we have to use double fist because our fists are just smaller. So to
Yeah.
fit that size, we have to, like for me, like I
And
have
hand
to.
fist stacks are a bit easier, right?
Oh yeah, like I can go a lot further on hand fist stacks. I mean, it's
Yeah.
still really hard to do it for that long, but I definitely like, my hands pump out, my forearms pump out from like hanging from the double fist stacks, and I get a lot of pain in like my pinky right here because my whole body weight is just going through that bone in this
Yeah.
direction. So I have to pad that up with a lot of tape and like specifically on the pinky. Um, and so yeah, we're just you've got the hands and then you've got the abs. And then also obviously like your feet. And your feet can get really, really stiff and numb. And my feet were like purple last week when I pulled them out after we PR'd. And So the endurance workouts, they work out your feet. You know, your feet will go numb, and they also work out your arms because eventually your arms will get pumped out from doing so many like, double fist stack
Yeah.
braces where you're then moving and putting like most of your body weight on that.
Yeah.
And you have to like shake out and stuff, but your abs usually kind of hold you during those situations because you'll be on like minute like 13, 14 of the crack trainer, absolutely dying, but like we can't fully flop because the crack trainer's so low. And usually that's the way you rest and invert off with is you just bat hang and you let go
Yeah.
and you
Yeah.
release
Yeah.
your abs. It's an arm rest and an ab rest. And
Yeah.
I'm really excited to do that on Sentry because we haven't been able to do it in training. So the way we rest in training is we like pike. So we're kind of doing like an upside down L sit, which is strenuous on your abs, but what would, importantly, it allows you to shake off your arms.
Yeah.
Um, so that's like the most of the rest we get, and as a result, our abs have gotten really strong. But in order to keep them strong, what we do is then with the weighted workouts, because there's less time, it's less of a strain on your feet and your hands, and like your arms probably aren't going to pump out. But your abs get so worked from having so much weight on them, and you like
Yeah.
can't just kind of pike for too long, so you have to be more efficient. So it kind of gets every aspect of the training, having all these like varied workouts, and then we're taking like specifically from off with, we're taking like at least 3 rest days between sets at this point because they've just gotten so long and we're trying to avoid injury.
Okay. Wow. Okay. So that's 2 sessions a week.
Yeah, and then we also have like gym stuff and regular climbing and like, I'm doing a little bit of running, stretching, lots of like, prehab. So it's a very full week, but like I would say those are the core exercises that we're doing.
So how many days a week do you do nothing?
Probably like 2 days a week.
Okay, cool. Okay.
Yeah.
So you've got ankles of steel and abs of steel
Yes,
and
but
hands of steel, right?
no, not yet wrists of steel. I want to
No,
have wrists
okay.
of steel.
Yeah,
I need
okay.
to build that up a little bit more.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
how long did Pete and Tom take to do how long were they upside down for when they climbed it?
I think they ended up doing like 15 minutes in the roof and then I'm not sure how long they did on like the lip, which is
Yeah.
pretty long. I know Humio was there for like 85 minutes or 83 minutes or something, but he I think spent
83.
But I think he spent the majority of his time, like, I think he got through the roof section and then he spent the majority of his time, like, at the end, kind of going up into the sixes crux and then kind of backing off and then shaking out and trying to, like, rest. And I think he did that for over an hour.
Bloody
Um,
hell.
and he was just trying not to blow it. And then he made it happen. But he
Okay.
just kept going up and being like, no, I need more time to rest, which I would totally do too. Like, if I made it through the roof, I'd be like, this is my one chance. I
Yeah,
can't,
yeah,
like,
yeah,
mess
yeah,
this
yeah. Of
up.
course it is. Yeah. Otherwise you're gonna do it all again.
And you don't know if you can do it all again. Like maybe you only get it one time. Maybe you
Yeah.
just have like superhuman strength
Need a
one
rest.
time.
You need 3 rest days, right?
Well, it depends. I mean, we're specifically doing that because we're putting so much pressure on like our ankles
Yeah.
and our feet. I think if it was just like a fatigue thing or just like a regular muscle thing, then we would only need like 1 rest day in between. And when we started off, we were doing like 3 times a week, but the sessions have just gotten so extensive that like it's not worth it to us to risk injury. And we've also been told by Tom, who's like kind of overseeing our crack training, that we need to be taking more rest days in between sessions.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I think it's maybe what a lot of climbers, including me, struggle with, right? Taking a rest day.
Oh,
Rest.
really? I don't struggle with that.
Don't you? I do. Yeah, yeah. I don't like taking rest days. I've just had a massage on Monday, and the lady said, "Look, you need 2 rest days," and I'm like, "Oh, really?"
Well,
Yeah.
do you have other hobbies besides climbing that you like doing?
No.
Well, that's it. That's the thing. Like for me, I feel like there's so many things I could do besides climbing when I have a rest day. Like I'm learning Irish right now, and I'm really into trying to get better at that. Um,
Why
and
Irish?
I'm an Irish citizen. I became an Irish citizen 2 years ago,
Okay.
and just through like family descent. And I don't want to contribute to like the decline of Irish culture by being someone who's coming in and like diluting it by just speaking English and not being able to like help preserve that culture. And I'm
Okay.
also, my family's Irish, and nobody speaks the language.
Okay.
So I'm trying to bring that back. And there's a huge language revival right now in Ireland, I think specifically from like Kneecap, making it cool again
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
to
yeah, yeah,
rap in
yeah,
Irish.
yeah,
Yeah, so I think they're great. And
yeah,
there's so many people learning it right now. Like there's so many people on TikTok that are just like explaining their day, like Ask Welga every single day and doing like get ready with me's. And I'm starting to pick up a tiny bit of words, but it's definitely the most difficult language I've tried to learn so far. But
okay,
I'm so into that. Like I'm just doing that for fun. And then also I have, all these writing projects and investigations and like big features I'm trying to work on for climbing. And I'm like, I always feel like there's not enough time to go as in depth with every single story as I want to.
yeah,
Um, one of my editors called it a totalistic impulse, which I think is a good description. Like the impulse to just go deep into everything and have like so much knowledge before you start writing. And sometimes you just have to like work with what you have.
yeah.
Um, but yeah, I think if you maybe like get a TV show that you really like, or maybe like, take up a craft or something, I think rest days would be more fun.
Yeah, I mean, I've got two kids. I'm
Oh,
married.
you're busy.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I currently run two businesses, so I'm pretty like my time's pretty occupied with stuff. I don't have much free time, and I think like before having kids, I bumbled through life, and I think since having kids, I've been a lot more focused as a climber because my free time is so precious to me.
Yeah, no, definitely. I can see that. You must be so busy with kids.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean, yeah, I'm not going to say no, but yeah, very busy. They keep me very busy. Um, you mentioned injuries. What kind of injuries have you endured?
I've messed up my wrist a couple times. I think anyone who climbs roof cracks, and I've always messed up my wrist, not even in Offwidths, but just in like regular roof cracks. Anyone who climbs roof cracks, I think, will have a messed up wrist, and I don't necessarily know if there's a way to like totally avoid that. But I'm really lucky. My sister is studying to be a physical therapist, and so I'm able to go to her
Okay.
for advice now. Like she's on her last year, and unfortunately, she's not becoming like a hand wrist specialist.
Yeah,
She
a
told,
climbing specialist. Yeah,
yeah, I dreamed of that when I was trying to manifest that when I was helping her with her applications, and I
yeah,
was like helping her write them and brainstorm and stuff. And I was like, yeah, you got this, Nat. Like you're gonna be my personal PT as a
yeah.
climber. And then now she's like, Sam, I want to work in a hospital and help people walk after surgery. And I'm like, that's so selfish. Like you're not thinking about me and my career and what I've invested into your career.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, no, she's great. She's really cool. But I sometimes I go to her and she'll tell me I got to do band work, and I'm like, oh, I don't want to do that. But I feel like as a climber, I'm really good at taking time off when I am injured. While some people just kind of keep pushing it, and when I have pain in my wrist, I'll just be like, okay, I'm not going to climb my wrist until it gets better,
Okay.
and like distract myself with other things. So I've had that problem, probably like 3 or 4 times throughout the years, but it's only required like 3 weeks, maybe 4 weeks of rest. Um, I think I pulled like an intercostal muscle last year when I was trying to get the second ascent of this boulder in Yosemite that Mary put up. It's behind the stew site from North Pines. It's like along the path between North Pines and the Awani, and it's this boulder that's just right along the path and invert Opwith. And we think it's the FA, and she put up this thing called the Privateer. It's this really cool like tunnel that you invert into, and then you like are upside down the whole way, but kind of in a comfy position. Like I call it like a V1 invert. And then it turns into like, I don't know, something between like a V4 and V6 crux where you're trying to pull this bulge and the only like hand or fist you can reach is really deep in there. So I was like reaching over really far and uh wasn't able to get it. Still looking for a second ascent. I've only tried it a couple times since then, but I want to go back when I can. It just requires so many spotters too. You need someone to like stand in a hole and hold up pad above their head like with arms fully extended.
Okay, you need
Um
someone strong then.
well, you just need someone who's willing to like hold up a pad like because even if they're not strong, like you can fall on them and still be okay.
Yeah, yeah.
Um because you kind of fall to the side of it as well, but you definitely need, a hole spotter. So I was joking around with my friends. I had my birthday party there last October. I was born October 26th. And so for my birthday, I like made the whole SAR team come out and belay me on this boulder, and everyone like pretended to be into it because they don't really like inverts, but it was fun. anyways, so I got injured on that a couple months earlier and had to take like a full month off because I felt like I was being carved up from like the inside of my ribs. So my sister helped me figure out what that was.
Okay.
And she was just like, you just need to chill and it'll heal itself. So yeah, I've been very, very blessed to not have a massive injury yet.
Yeah.
Um, I've also had like the, bicep strains from training and stuff. Just
Yeah.
overuse.
But you sound very sensible.
Thanks. Yeah, I mean, it's hard when you do get injured and you have to take time off. I feel like I'm always telling my friends that over and over and over again. I'm like, well, I would be out there, but like my wrist still feels a little weird, so I'm not going to.
Yeah.
Um, but you just got to distract yourself with other things. Writing projects have been great because during that time when I was injured, I was like, cool, like I still don't have a way to get into a writing job, so I'm gonna really focus on that right now.
Yeah. 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 Cool. Um, Quick question. Do you know if Shanti has been on Century Crack?
I think the only people who have sent it are Tom and Pete, and then Danny Parker
Right.
and
Okay.
Fumiya Nakamura. So there's only been four sents, so there hasn't been a female sent yet.
Okay. Cool. All right. Cool. Um, Must be great that Mary, being your mentor, that you are now, I guess, the mentee is almost exceeding the master, right?
I wouldn't say exceeding, no. I mean, Mary's still at the top of her game and she's only getting stronger.
Yeah.
But it's nice to be able to keep up and it's cool to be able to like go out and project things together. We've
Yeah.
worked a lot of things where we've both been able to like send in the same day and it just makes me feel encouraged because sometimes, it's hard to believe in yourself when you're looking at something like Sentry and, you know, like based on my resume and my experience, it doesn't necessarily seem like a sensible thing for me to go for. But when I'm able to like keep up with Mary, like I feel like I believe in her more than I believe in me. So I'm like, okay, well, if she can do it, which I believe, I think she totally has the ability to
Yeah.
do it. And like if I can keep up with her and be within like a certain margin of like, matching that level, then like by transitive property, I can do it. And it
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
makes
Yeah.
it
Yeah.
easier.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
easier to be like,
Great
oh, I'm keeping
positivity
up.
there.
Totally. Yeah. And
Yeah.
like I hope I can get to the point where I just walk into Century and I'm like, oh, I totally got this. Like I can do it. I'm
Yeah.
this kind of athlete.
Yeah.
Um, but it might take multiple seasons. We'll see. I think we have a good shot,
Yeah.
but I've never been on the route. So if it turns out to be the kind of thing that's like it's so beta intensive or sometimes I watch videos of it because this guy from Japan who's really nice named Yuya, who's been on it a couple times, he has this video up on YouTube that kind of shows more more of like the actual crack and it's like a better beta video than
Yeah.
the Century Crack movie.
Yeah.
Um, and sometimes I look at that and I'm like, well, I'm probably just gonna go feet first the whole time. Like I'm training wide pony, but I'm like, if it's at all like too deep in to reach and like I can't reach my stacks for like I know my body type and I know that I have longer legs than arms. Like my arms are not short. I'm like a 0 ape index, but my legs are relatively long for my body. So like I prefer to go feet first and my hands behind than to have my hands in between my feet.
Okay.
Whereas if you have really long hands or sorry, really long arms, then you're gonna do really well at wide pony where your hands are in the middle.
Yeah.
Um, and so I'm just looking at it and I'm like, well, I'm doing all this training, but like maybe I'm just gonna change it all up when we get there. Maybe because it goes slightly up, I'm just gonna have feet first the entire time. And I'm sure a lot of the training will still transfer, but there will be like some part of me that hasn't trained like a
Cool.
certain muscle, you know?
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
There's
Yeah.
a lot of unknowns. But it's cool, it's cool to be like, I'm going to pursue this, even if I can't do it like immediately.
Yeah. But it's exciting to have a project, isn't it? Something to
Yeah, I
work
love having a
towards.
project.
Yeah, 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 yeah. Love the journey, right? The working really hard towards something, and then I guess I know the great feeling is to achieve your goal, but then it becomes disappointing afterwards because you got to find something else.
Not for me. No, I don't. I feel like
No,
I just get psyched. Like when I trained, my whole goal, like last year, my main goal was belly full, and I was doing all these other climbs to prepare for it. And so I trained like for 6 weeks in the winter, for like 4 or 5 weeks. And I trained with Ashley, and then I went out to the spring, and it was closed for raptor nesting, and it had never been closed before. Like it had never
right.
been on the closure map until that year, so it was a total surprise. And so I like, pouted about it and stuff. And I was like, okay, I'm gonna respect the closures, of course, but I'll just pivot to other things. But I was always thinking about it. And I was like, oh, now I gotta stay in shape till November because I knew I wasn't gonna come back till then. because I was going to work in Yosemite. And so all Yosemite, I'm like training for, I'm doing laps on Space Invaders, which is this awesome 512 off width in like it's really close to the road by the Iwani. And I'm, coercing all my friends to like go belay me, and it became like a running joke, like, Sam's gonna make you go to Space Invaders if she like says hi to you for 5 seconds. But then when I went and did it, I was just so happy, and I still had like 2 weeks left, but I was just so psyched. Everyone's like, "What are you gonna do next?" I'm like, "I'm just gonna celebrate the fact that I sent belly full. Like that's I'm gonna give everybody belays." I have a
Yeah.
long list of like, I have a lot of belay debt to pay back.
Yeah.
I don't think I have a hard time celebrating, and that's something I started doing in this past winter in like in January and February of this year. I started this trend where whenever I sent like a really hard off with, I would buy myself a tiny little cake and I would like write the name of the off with. And I just think it's important to celebrate you, and that's what I would want someone to do for me. So I'm like, well, I'll just do it
Yeah.
for myself. And
Yeah.
you kind
Yeah.
of show people how to celebrate with you. And for like, I don't know, I love parties and celebrations and like big victorious moments in the Olympics and making things really dramatic. So
Yeah.
yeah, having a little cake and pointing out like it signals to yourself and to your friends like this is important to me. This is a big
Yeah.
deal.
Yeah. 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 I like that. Might have to start making cakes for myself.
Yeah, like little cakes. Yeah. Don't make too many though. Like I had
Yeah.
a good run in the winter and I was like, damn, we've had like a cake each week. Like we need to chill on the
Yeah.
cake. We need to eat veggies and stuff. But I think if Century does happen, I don't think I'm gonna have any problem celebrating. And I don't think I'm
No.
gonna have an existential crisis. I think I'm gonna be like, this is amazing. This was fantastic. Now I go to Europe and I sport climb for months and it's gonna
Yeah.
be great. Yeah.
Yeah. You might even shed a tear.
Yeah. Oh, I'm a crier for sure. Like I
Yeah.
think if I do it, I'll be like sobbing.
Of course. Yeah. Well, why not? I mean, yeah, for the listeners out there, belly full of bad berries is I think it's French 8A. I think it's US, is it 513, 512D?
Oh yeah, it's 513. I think some people grade it 513A, some people grade it 513B.
But I
So
guess,
it's somewhere I think it just gets the standard 513, but
yeah,
yeah, it's like one of the most famous offwits in the world, and it's this test piece that
yeah,
you watch like Adam Ondra and Alex Honnold like screaming on, and you're just like, that looks crazy. And
yeah,
um yeah, I was so excited to finally be like, I feel strong enough to go try it. And I think that training on Space Invaders in Yosemite was a perfect training for that. I think it was really effective. So if you guys are people out there want to do polyfill, go and check out Space
go do
Invaders.
Space Invaders. Yeah. So when you worked for, did you work for the rescue services in Yosemite?
I worked as a climbing steward, so I wasn't directly on like the SAR team. I wasn't like one of the first responders, but I was kind of like the backup like B team. So when the
Okay.
SAR team was overwhelmed, they would call in like the climbing rangers, the climbing stewards. And so I did get trained in like rope rescue, carryouts, horse rescue. Like we did all the training. And I worked in Yosemite for 4 months, for like 2 months in the spring, 2 months in the fall. And throughout the entire spring, I was trying to decide whether or not I wanted to be on the SAR team because a lot of people who join as climber stewards, they get the opportunity to look at all these different paths in Yosemite. And it's like a
Yeah.
great place to be if you're trying to work in the park in some capacity. So I got to try out like, a couple things. I was involved in like a couple rescues, not that many, but ultimately I decided that I wanted to spend my time like breaking into the writing career, and
Yeah.
that even though uh I liked participating in some of the rescues, I didn't think it was going to be a full-time thing for me. But I got to meet the best people ever. Like the search and rescue team in Yosemite, they're not only like the most in shape and the most experienced people you can meet, but they're just the kindest and the funniest and like the most generous. And so those guys are my friends, and I
Yeah.
love hanging out with them.
That way you met Kate.
I actually knew Kate before.
Okay.
She joined the SAR team, but um, she's like one of the people I love hanging out with the most. And so we've spent a lot of time in Yosemite together. And she actually referred me for the climber steward position. So the reason I was able to spend most of my like summer in Yosemite, camping there for free was because of her. And
Yeah.
that's awesome. Like she's just such a generous person. She also taught me how to big wall and um, just did that over 2 weeks, like for free. Like, I definitely have been humbled by, all the people that have helped me out throughout the years. And Kate's one of the ones that comes to mind the most. Like Kate and Mary, I think are like my two biggest mentors. And
Yeah.
I've always been like, how do I pay it back, Kate? How do I, like, what can I give you since you don't really like off with? And you already have all the gear you need. And like, I can't really teach you anything about speed climbing. Like, how could
I
I
just
pay you
think just
back?
I guess just being a friend and just hanging out and belaying, right?
No, yeah, for sure. Like infinite blades for Kate forever. But all she told me when I asked her that, she was just like, you need to pass it on. Like you need to find someone, especially a woman, who's trying
Yeah.
to learn all these skills that are really difficult to learn on your own and
Yeah.
pass it on. And so
Yeah.
that's why I started teaching clinics and teaching specifically like intro to big wall. So I did that at Flash Foxy in March, which was awesome. And I'm doing it again actually this weekend.
Cool.
On Friday at the International Climbers Festival in Lander. So
Yeah.
you, I don't know if this episode is coming out after that, but yeah, I'm excited to be there and teach a little bit and like pass on those skills.
Yeah, that's really cool. So, so as I think as a bloke, I didn't quite understand up to I think it was last year. Like, uh, I think that there's lots of women's groups that pop up everywhere in lots of aspects in life, and I didn't quite. I'd always, no, I wouldn't question it, but I would ask questions because I was intrigued as to why women felt the need to do that. Now, I watched a program last year, so went onto Netflix and just popped up a what was it, an episode of what was it, America's Sweethearts about the what
Is
was
that
it?
the Dallas Cowboy cheerleaders?
Yes, it was.
Oh, cool. I
And
watched
so,
like an episode or two of that.
somebody been watching that, and I'm like, that's got to be my son, right? For whatever reason. Um, so I spoke to my wife about it, and she's like, "Oh no, no, I was watching it." I was like, "Oh right, okay. Why are you watching that? You're a feminist. You don't. I can't see why you want to watch that." So anyway, she's like, "Oh, it's really interesting." So anyway, I started watching this program with her, and the one thing I noticed that is so different from men, so these are all female cheerleaders working together, and they are so supportive of one another and so positive and just encouraging that is something you don't get in an all male environment. All male environment, you get testosterone. People are a little bit competitive. They joke around. They take the mickey, although it's all very friendly. Um, and I can see now why women have women's groups and why it feels more positive. And I think yeah, men compete more outwardly, and I think women are. I can see why it's a positive environment for women to grow in.
Yeah, definitely. I think, you know, I'm super privileged to have the women in my life that I do, and they're also supportive. And like, I wish that men had that as well. I think men are the only people that can change that because,
Yeah,
women offer like safe spaces to men and like you bring in your guy friends, your boyfriends, like into your female friend group, into like
yeah,
the sleepover vibe, and it's just so healthy. And you see on their faces, like they're just completely blown away by how healthy and like open and the depth of conversations that you have and the level of like deep support and having people see you and
yeah,
like
yeah,
give
yeah.
you, what you need. And I think men should model that for each other, and I know a lot of men are doing that, but I hope to see like men be able to access that as well within their own like
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
friend
I'm
groups.
not saying men
Mhm.
shouldn't be able to access that. I'm just saying
No, yeah,
I can understand why women have women's groups. Yeah,
totally, yeah, and also like why queer people have affinity groups, why like people of different cultures have affinity groups. You just
yeah,
feel safer, I think, when you're not. When like the chance of someone trying to be creepy towards you or trying to be rude or, sexist or whatever is just
yeah, yeah,
is just taken away and you can
yeah,
just like fully relax.
yeah, yeah,
I think that's really helpful, especially in situations when you're scared and you're learning something new and trust is a really big deal. Like I knew I wanted to learn trad from a woman, and I wanted to learn big wall from a woman. And that's not because I don't trust that guys have great experience and are really talented, but just because like I didn't want to have to put all my trust and reliance in what would likely be like an older man that I didn't know.
Yeah.
Um, because I just feel safer around women.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And now, th and there are, just to be clear, like there are a lot of guys I really trust and feel safe around, but I agree with you, like having women's spaces is so important in climbing, and having affinity spaces is really important too, so everyone can feel safe and included, and also just like I don't know, women are so fun, and it's like a fun vibe to just
Yeah.
like be around girls. I remember when I was in the VU and you had Kaya like blasting Ashniko and we're all like painting our nails neon colors and wearing long earrings and like
Yeah.
just like laughing and chatting and then like doing these really hard offwidths. I mean, for me, I was at the time, I think I was like, I spent 2 weeks like crying over a V1 or something, but like watching Mary and Kaya do really hard offwidths and
Yeah.
having campfires and yeah, I mean, I think every group is better with women in it.
Yeah. 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 That's cool. Yeah. Yeah. Where do we get to? Cool. You mentioned I think you're attracted to climbing also because there's an element of fear. Have you ever climbed and been in a moment where fear's been too much or almost too much?
Yeah, for sure. Not with Offwidth because I feel like Offwidth is so safe, especially invert Offwidth. You're basically on top rope the whole time. I mean, you have a cam like a foot from you, maybe.
Yeah.
Um, like I don't really take big whips in Offwidth. Sometimes the cams won't hold. Like I don't think a
Okay.
seven would hold a big whip. But yeah, I have been in a lot of scary situations. One that comes to mind is when I was climbing the nose for the first time. It was dark and I was leading the very last pitch, and I got myself into a lot of rope drag by linking the last two pitches. And I was like above a slab and there was no gear for maybe like 40 feet or something. And I was pulling on my own rope to be able to move up. And I realized I was going to take like 100 footer or something if I
Yeah.
fell. And that was really scary. I think you just have to kind of lock in at that point. There are a couple other scenarios. I mean, I remember when I was like descending from the Stek Salifay, I got off route and the sun was setting and you have to get down to this like waterfall area to traverse down it. And I had to put my whole life into this like one move where it was like this down climb where if I fell, I would fall off the slabs and probably not make it. But you kind of know that's happening before and you choose your spot. And if I didn't think I could do it, I wouldn't have gone for it. But I don't know. I mean, those moments always affect me a lot. My least favorite moments in climbing are when I don't feel safe with the gear that I have, or if I feel sandbagged or
Yeah.
feel like if something happens, like if I slip, my gear is not going to catch me. That's so stressful. Yeah, I don't love those moments, but I think that in other moments where like you genuinely are safe, but you just need to like convince yourself that it's okay to take that fall, I think that feeling scared and overcoming it is like one of the most addictive things you can do as a person because you're teaching yourself that you're brave. For
Yeah.
me, it's always been important to develop into a brave person. Like the people I've idolized when I was younger are like warrior princesses in fairy tale books and like Lyra Belacqua from The Golden Compass and Hermione Granger from Harry Potter and like Alana of Trebond from like Song of the Lioness series. And like all of those people are so brave and they go up against the odds and they face down like the evil wizard or whatever. And I remember looking around my hallway as a kid, as like a 10-year-old or something, and being like, so what do I got to become to like be like these women?
Yeah.
Like, what is my path? Do I join the military? I thought for a while I was going to be a spy. Do I become a human rights lawyer? Like, how do I practice bravery and how do I become someone who um, is like, going up against their fears and is able to handle that and is able to like truly commit to what they want. Um, and I think being in the outdoors, I think being a rock climber is something that puts you in that situation. And I think it's one of the best things about climbing for me is when I
Yeah.
do something and I was like, that was really brave of me.
Yeah, yeah. I think no, knowingly I think most climbers will have an element of fear in their climbing to a manageable or unmanageable level at some point in their career, or even every time they go climbing. Yeah.
Totally. Yeah. And like we recently ran a contest at climbing that was it's a writing contest where we asked people to describe like the move that's the most important to you. And the stories were incredible. So many people were talking about like, how much like getting a certain move meant to them. A lot of people were talking about like when they almost died and they had to make a really key decision that avoided that. And people were, your whole life comes up in these moments because you're like, okay, well, everything I've gone through, does that give me the ability to work through this situation? And am I able to like take this important step that I need? Or back off from this important step if I know that it's not worth it. And
Yeah.
I think that it's cool seeing how sentimental people get about those decisions.
Yeah.
And I definitely get sentimental about those as well. Like, do you find that you also like experience a lot of fear in climbing? And is that like a
Completely.
draw for
Yeah.
you or no?
Yeah. So it does draw me to it. I think, yeah, I think, I guess so. So my background is that I had a bad belayer who dropped me 3 times sport climbing from quite high up to just above the ground. I never hurt myself, but first time put it down to an accident and etc. So after the third time, it kind of completely kind of messed me up psychologically. I just wouldn't take any falls.
Hmm.
Um, and I think since then I've done loads of research. I run workshops. I wrote a book on kind of head game and climbing, and there is that element of fear, right, that we love to get into, but as long as it's manageable. If it
Hmm.
becomes unmanageable and it becomes kind of panic stuff, then that depends on your experience to be able to cope with that. Whether that's gonna um, whether that's going to grow you as a person or whether that's going to traumatize you and stop you from doing what you're doing. And I think with all the experiences I've got, there's plenty where I've been I've been not plenty. There's been quite a few experiences that have been very close to what you described, where yeah, you've got to
Yeah.
stay with it, and you can't make a mistake. And you make a mistake, then yeah, that's it, really.
Yeah, and that's the kind of fear that I don't love, where you're like, okay, there's no mistakes here, or you like die. I
No,
don't
I
like
don't
that kind
like.
of
No,
fear.
no, 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 no. I'm not saying I like that. No,
Yeah.
yeah, but
But the
I've
kind of
gotten to those and worked through it to live through it and think, yeah, okay, I don't want that again.
The
But
kind
if
of
it,
fear I do like is the one that where you aren't gonna die, but like you're still scared and you get to work through it.
yeah,
So one of the scariest things for me is getting my knee stuck in rock because that's happened a couple times.
okay, yeah,
Uh when I was working this route called or Out of the Blue, it's a boulder, also put up by Tyler Zudzina in the South Platte of Colorado. I stuck my knee up into it and I kind of hyperextended my knee and I knew as soon as it locked in that it wasn't coming out. And we were an hour and a half from service. I thought someone was gonna have to jackhammer my knee to or like smash it with a hammer to like dislodge the bone. And I was stuck like that in excruciating pain, my whole body weight on my kneecap for like over an hour. And I had 6 people holding me up and I was just like whimpering with fear and people were like convinced that they could slide it out and I was like it's swollen like it can't move. We're trying to force it and it just hurts more and I thought I was just completely fucked, but eventually, my friends they chipped away a little bit of the rock to be able to like get my knee into a position where it could slide out.
yeah,
And I just remember that like that had a very deep psychological imprint on me, and
yeah,
I never put my knee into a crack for maybe like 2 years after that. And then, I was working Bad Girls Dream in the VU, and you have to climb that thing on knee locks unless you
yeah,
have massive hands. Um, and that was like a bigger circumstance. That was a more risky circumstance because you're a couple miles from the car and thunderstorms are always rolling in the VU and it's granite. It's not like I think it was sandstone or I actually forget what kind of rock we were climbing in Colorado, but it was kind of softer and easier to kind of, break out. But granite is not necessarily something you can just chip away at
yeah, yeah,
very easily and have it crumble.
yeah,
So I was really scared and getting over that was a big deal, but I didn't realize like my knee lock journey is far from over. Like I'm still a lot more scared than Mary is to put my knee into
Yeah.
um specifically an invert situation and then hang my body off of like anything that's close to my kneecap.
Yeah.
So when we did the Payasano overhang, it was really interesting because for people with small hands, I think that the move to like get over the lip is to stick your knee in there, but it's pretty tight and it is granite and you're on an overhang and you're like staring down at like 300 feet and your gear might catch you before your knees weighted if you slip, but it,
Yeah.
you know, you might have like a tiny bit of slack there because it's a roof. So I figured out the sequence for Payasano pretty quickly for me and then had to like spend many goes just practicing like doing that knee move. And I would go up and I'd set the knee and then I'd be like, take, like this isn't worth it. It's not worth getting my knee stuck in
Yeah. Yeah.
this
Yeah.
piece of granite on like the edge of this
Yeah.
cliff.
Yeah.
Um, so I had to psych myself up for it. And eventually when I was sending, I was like, convincing myself to go for it. And then as I moved up, my knee got stuck as I was like being released from inside the crack, like as I was standing. Um, and I was screaming and I was like, no, my knee is stuck. And Mary's like, fight, because she knew that it was the last day. It was first go, best go. Like, this is my shot. So I just had to like scream and like tighten my stack and rip my knee out of there. And thank God it was fine, but then you have to do like 60 more feet on knee locks. So everyone's like celebrating because they're like, yeah, you got it over the lip. And I'm like, it's not over yet. I could still like
Yeah.
completely get stuck. So it's something that I'm working on, and it's something that like that sort of fear is, I think, the productive kind where you can grow as a person because, I did the move enough to know that like it wasn't gonna get stuck
Yeah.
necessarily. There was probably like a 90% chance I can make it through.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess it's just, I guess the take from that is to just edge your way in a little bit at a time, right? I guess that's, I think for you that your brain's kind of logged that as kind of trauma, um, and it's just slowly chipping away at it to build confidence in, I guess in your ability, as I had to do with full practice. I spent 2 years working on my head game before I got back to where I was. Yeah.
Yeah, I bet. I mean, that sounds really scary to be dropped 3 times by the same belayer.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of people are saying, well, why did you stay climbing with him? And I don't know, gave him a second chance, then a third chance, and yeah. And then the third time I was, yeah, absolutely petrified, and my grades just plummeted and just stopped enjoying climbing. Well, I still enjoyed climbing, but stopped enjoying the process of climbing because I would climb and always look down to check my B layer, which is something you should never have to do, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, to trust them implicitly. Yeah. So how
Yeah,
do
that
you,
seems really scary.
yeah. So how do you deal with I guess that fear in the moment?
I talked about it. I think when I'm scared, I'm like a talker. I like to narrate what's happening to me.
Okay, whilst you're climbing.
Uh, no, like afterwards, like
Okay.
I'll like as soon as I get down from a climb, I just start spraying about like, to whoever's listening or about what's going on. I'm like, yeah, so like I'm just at that moment it was kind of hard in Paisano because there wasn't anything I could change. Like I was doing the move properly, and even though I was doing the move and I wasn't getting my knee stuck, I was still too scared to actually finish it.
Yeah, yeah, of course.
Um,
Yeah.
so it was purely mental at that point,
Yeah.
and I think I just tried to reduce the pressure and give myself more chances and have more
Yeah.
tries and keep practicing it, keep making myself practice it. And then I also talked about it with Mary and with our friends and I was like, okay, like worst case scenario, if I get my knee stuck, I have additional cams on me and can pull myself out of it, like
Yeah.
trying to reduce the stakes. But I guess, I mean, I'm scared of getting into that position in granite on like an alpine scenario with bad weather moving in.
Yeah.
And I know that I need to move past it. I know that I have the ability to do a solid knee lock. Um, I think after I just did it a couple times, I was like, I wanted to send more than I wanted to avoid that move. So
Yeah.
after I did it a couple times, I was like, okay, like I've done this twice. I haven't gotten my knee stuck. It's gonna like it is possible.
Yeah.
Um, and I also had a conversation with myself where it's like, I'm gonna know if you fail on this in a mental way. Like I'm gonna if you go up there and then you just call take because you're scared of weighting your knee fully when you're moving up on it, then that's not going to be acceptable. But it will be
By
acceptable if
whom?
like to me.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, it's not going to be acceptable to me, but it is going to be acceptable in this particular scenario if I like actually get it stuck and have to take and don't fight enough. But I don't know. I want to be accountable to myself. And like for Paisano, I knew I 100% was physically capable of doing it because I'd worked all
Yeah,
the moves.
yeah.
And compared with century crack training, it's like a very short climb. And yeah, it also just helps sometimes when you see someone else do it. So like I watched Mary do it and I was like, okay, like, I was inspired by that. I was
Cool.
psyched up. Uh yeah, I don't think I necessarily have like a total solve for that. You just have to try and
I think you
admit
do.
what's happening.
I think you do have a solve for that. I think you were just testing it out and just testing out to see what was working, right? You still had a get out clause, so there was less pressure to have to do it. Although I guess you maybe applied some pressure on yourself, but you still went and tried and then see what happened and then built the confidence in yourself that you could do it.
Yeah, I was still scared when I did it, but I was like,
But that's
I don't
normal,
know.
right?
Yeah, like it's good. Like, you can't be brave unless you're being scared. I think
Yeah.
one of the things that helped me was at least being super honest with myself about what the issue was. Like
Yeah.
being like, okay, this is not a physical consideration and this is not a danger consideration. Like you're not in danger. You have cams you can pull up on. You will get this knee unstuck. If it gets stuck, you can
Yeah.
always drop. You can always extend your leg forward and then pull on the cam in front of you. Like
Yeah.
you're going to be fine. This is 100% a mental situation. And so like when you're up there feeling scared, don't convince yourself that you're actually in danger. This is actually like like, oh, you can't do it because you're too overwhelmed. Like, no, it's you're 100% capable of doing this climb. It's a mental consideration. So like admit to yourself that's what it is.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Um, and if I can't get it, then that's like a mental failure. And so going up against that and understanding that when I'm going into it, I think added some pressure on myself to like really, really try
Yeah.
instead of
Okay.
giving myself excuses.
Yeah. Yeah. That's cool. Nice. But there isn't there a famous route? I can't remember the name. It's called something until you poop. Uh,
Yeah, I've done that in Squamish, boogie till you poop.
what is it called? Boogie till you poop.
Or yeah, it's boogie till you something, but it's been renamed to boogie till you poop. It's a 511 in Squamish. It's right next to Scimitar, which is another 511 that looks really cool.
Yeah. And it became famous because someone who was still hungover the next day climbed it and got their knee stuck and ended up yeah, having a number two in their trousers. They shut
Yeah,
themselves.
yeah, I know. And then I think Cedar Wright filmed it and put it up. Yeah,
You did, yeah. What a friend, eh?
I know. I mean, I have one of my friends has a video that's like 25 minutes long of me just like hanging upside down and out of the blue with my knee stuck, crying, and luckily I didn't poop, but I don't know, it's scary. Like I
Yeah,
think
yeah,
I
of
think when you
course.
get your knee stuck, you've got like 30 seconds and maybe a minute and you've got to rip that thing out right away because then it starts swelling and then it's really difficult to get dislodged.
Right, okay.
So I always tell people like if you feel stuck, like make like don't sit there and think about it. Like rip
Get
that
it
thing
out.
out immediately, like
Yeah,
force it to come out,
yeah.
take action quickly.
Okay. I'll remember that when my knee gets stuck.
Yeah, that
But I
poor guy
think
though. I feel bad.
yeah, but crack climbing's so like size dependent, isn't it? Like it depends on the size of your fingers, your hands, your fist stacks, your feet, everything. So I guess for someone a certain crack might be a certain difficulty and maybe that's why a belly full of bad berries, like some people give it one grade, other people give it a different grade because it's slightly easier for maybe with certain size hands or fists than for other people.
Yeah, definitely. But it all evens out like as you progress through the grades. Because, let's say you're doing like a hand crack, that's gonna be easier if it's a ones crack, it'll be easier for people with small hands. A twos crack will be easier for people with bigger hands because for me twos are like full cups, whereas for bigger hands people it's just a hand jam. And then threes. those will be easier for people with big hands, but maybe like three and a halfs or something will be easier for people with small hands. And then fours will be easier for people with big hands. And fives will be easier for people with small hands because they also usually can get like maybe a thigh lock or something like, if small hands, sometimes you also have smaller legs. And then sixes are easier for people with bigger legs because you get the knee lock, but then people with smaller legs can't. So like it literally oscillates back and forth every
Right.
size. It'll be harder or easier for you. So yeah, if you have two sizes that are really similar, you're gonna have and you have two people with different proportions, like you're gonna have different experiences on them. But I think overall it just evens out. Like there are these two invert Offwidths called Bruce Lee as fuck and Supreme Manliness. Supreme
Yeah.
Manliness is a Moab. Bruce Lee as fuck is like byway Rambo in the creek. And like for me, because I have really small feet and small hands, Supreme Manliness is like maybe like a 512 or something. Like it feels pretty chill because I just turn out, I get a knee lock that's perfect in the lip the whole time I'm in duck feet. I don't have to trench foot, which is harder, which you have to do if you have bigger feet. And it just feels really simple. It feels very comparable to like the invert off with indoor crack at Momentum Sandy in Salt Lake City, which is an indoor gym. But Bruce Lee as fuck, which is graded like 12 minus, for me, that's 513A. Like that climb, I'm fully inverting because I can't just like fist the roof. I don't get fists in any part of the roof.
Yeah.
So I'm upside down on that the whole time. And I'm upside down in thin feet. So I'm like, my toes are hanging out. I'm really far out of the crack. I'm falling out as I'm trying to like move my stack along. And then doing like I have to like fully drop both my legs off and do this whole spin move and get like a bad knee lock and it's very technical for me. But for a lot of people, you just move through it and they're like, oh, it's just like, 12 minus easy.
Yeah.
But for people who have bigger legs and bigger hands than me, it's the opposite. Supreme manliness is really hard and Bruce Lee's sock is really easy.
Yeah.
So those are like perfectly paired climbs that I think exemplify the level of balance that there are in like hard invert off widths. You're always going to have a size that is better for you and is worse for you. And like sometimes you're going to come to a climb where you're like, thank God, this is the perfect size for me.
Yeah.
And sometimes, the beginning of the climb will be harder, the end will be easier. But I think that's the beauty of crack climbing, that it's not just purely one size has an advantage. Um, yeah, I personally tend to enjoy fives cracks the most because I think that I get perfect knee locks in them or like thigh locks and
Five
then
as in like size black diamond size five
mhm.
counts. Yeah, okay.
Yeah, so like tight fives for me are the easiest off with size because I get great stacks and I also can just like chill on a thigh lock and have a no hands rest in there.
Cool.
And I think that things like fours or like, tight sixes are really hard for me because I can't, it's too big for my double fist stack, but it's
Yeah.
too small for my, like, for my feet. And it's really challenging.
Yeah.
Yeah, you got to seek out all the sizes though if you're trying to do hard invert off with. You got to go through and not just cherry pick your best sizes. Like
Yeah, yeah.
sometimes you're gonna work for 5 weeks and you're gonna take like a 512 minus as the tick, and that's just what happens. But like that's more important in the long run to building your skills.
Yeah, 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 yeah. No, I'm finding that. I'm finding that my excuse me, my off width skills and my I think like crack climbing skills are kind of okay-ish. But it's like finger crack and off-wit skills, that's something I need to work on, especially when I met up with Mel and Hattie and they chucked me on stuff. I was like, okay, yeah, it is technique because muscle just doesn't work and just like not quite understanding the mechanics of how to torque your leg and in certain cracks that yeah, I just wasn't making a nice climb of it. Yeah.
Yeah,
Cool.
well, I mean, I hope that this has gotten you like more inspired towards
It
off
has.
with, or at least invert off with,
It
because I
has.
promise you, it's not just a grovel. Like it is very sporty as a
Yeah.
style.
Yeah. Just needs, I guess, need more of it. We don't have that many of them in the UK. We got the Peak
Mm.
District and some places around, and have to do some more research, right? Find out where they
Yeah,
all
I
are.
I think there are actually a couple good ones in Spain if you wanted to pop over to Europe to do those. And like turkey crack is one thing that I'm very interested in. I think that's in Cadarese. But there's another one that my friend Laura just put up or just did the first female ascent of. I think it's called Gloves of War. but there are a couple good ones. Like I hope someday I can do the Offwidth circuit of Europe and
Okay,
travel
cool.
around with like a giant suitcase of cams.
Yeah, cool, man. That'd be good.
Yeah,
You can write
those
all
seem
about
really
it.
fun. Yeah,
Lots of
my
articles
travel
off
log.
with try and
Yeah,
convince
just
the climbing world.
bamboozle all of the like sporty
Yeah,
Euro fans. Yeah.
yeah,
Um, no, I mean, I think more people who love sport climbing and trad climbing and don't necessarily like vertical off width should try invert off width because
yeah,
it
yeah.
is just simply so much more fun.
I would agree, and it's. I think it's sometimes like for the few ones that I've done, I thought it was very emotionally rewarding.
Yeah. It's
Yeah,
also so dramatic. Like, I mean, you're climbing a roof, you're hanging, sometimes you're hanging above like, 300 feet, like 500 feet. If you do I don't know. Like it's so beautiful too, just hanging from your ankles. And I feel like it's also a lot more like there's a lower barrier to entry, I think, with regard to just pure like crimping strength. You don't have to
yeah,
wait till you can do like a one-arm pull-up. I think
yeah,
off with compared to like other styles, you can really improve really fast just by focusing on technique.
yeah,
Um, which is great, which is awesome. And then like by the time you worry about strength, you're like, wow, like I actually do have really strong abs. Like I actually like my legs are actually doing pretty well because you're just so focused on the technique of everything.
yeah, yeah.
Um, so it's really cool. Yeah, I'd encourage more people to try it, like build a crack trainer, find a local invert boulder, take classes, take Mary's off with camp, which sometimes I teach at, which is
Yeah.
fun.
Cool. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I'd love to learn more about off with. Just have to make a trip to the USA.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, you should totally come to Moab. I think there's like the most amount of cool outfits here. Or Vitavu. That's a great place to learn as well. That's more of like bouldery type problems versus enduro problems,
Right.
where you just got to pull like 5 feet, but it takes you like 20 minutes to position yourself properly and you get
Yeah,
really
yeah, yeah, yeah,
scraped
yeah,
up.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah, whereas the creek's good for like practicing each size for like 100 feet.
yeah. Okay. Cool. Cool. A couple more questions. What mental challenges do you feel that you have to work on in your climbing? What mental aspect?
Mm, um, couple things, I think. Um, I definitely have to work on believing in myself and like having a really good flash go. In general, I'm more of the kind of climber that can memorize things really well and can sequence beta really well and
Yeah.
have a lot in my head, but I tend to spend my first go on anything just like working it for hours and just memorizing it and then, going up and performing that, but I do well when I don't have a lot of time pressure. So I've got to work on like being able to make one go count even if I don't have things figured out and
Yeah.
fighting uh through all the challenges that I face on that route even if I'm not 100% sure that what I'm doing is like the most efficient way or correct. So I would consider myself more of like a red point climber than a flash climber.
Yeah.
And I look to Mary as inspiration for that because she's a really good flash climber. Like she flashes, I've seen her flash like a ton of like V8s, V9s in the VU and a lot of really hard climbs. And she's good at like just kind of toughing it out, like just or toughening it out, like just working through things and not giving up, not like mentally just kind of releasing and being like, oh, I'll just try it again, but being like, no, this is the chance, this is the
Yeah.
try.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And I think I've achieved that level of like commitment when I'm on my red point goes for really hard projects, like for Bellyful, for example. I got that my third go, and I remember thinking like, I don't know if I'm ever going to be this close again. Like I'm so close to the anchors. Like I really have to just breathe and like make this happen because you're at the level where like it's not guaranteed. You could mess up in all these different ways that you just haven't yet in this
Yeah.
go, and you don't know if you're going to be able to replicate this. So you have to lock in and I think one of my challenges is just getting that place on earlier tries so that I can flash things. So I've been working on like, when I have a flash go, taking my time, mentally preparing for things to like go wrong, thinking a lot about gear and then not letting myself give up until I'm truly like,
Done.
being pushed out of the climb. Yeah, so that's something I'm still working on because I
Yeah,
definitely
yeah.
prefer the red point like gentleness
Yeah, 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 yeah. Yeah.
mentally. Yeah.
Knowing what to expect.
Yeah, totally. I like it when I know exactly what's going on and what my
Yeah.
next move is, and I can kind of prepare mentally for how it's going to feel. Um, and also like my gear's all in the right spot.
Yeah, yeah,
Like
yeah.
I don't, I'm not running into the rope. Uh, yeah, that's a big mental challenge for me, like not giving up too early on the flash goes.
Yeah. Yeah. Adds an extra element of I guess excitement to deal with right in a moment.
Hmm.
Jump on it first time.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Yeah. What do you feel that your mental strengths are?
Um, I'm really good at like, I don't know, I think setting a vibe. I think like playing music and um just like getting really into the fact that this is everything and this is the proj and this is what matters right now. I'm
Yeah.
really good at memorizing beta. I'm really good at um celebrating my like,
Yeah.
my little wins and
Yeah.
seeing each go as like some sort of progress.
Yeah.
And I think I have been really good at like, not psyching myself out when there's a lot of time between goes. When I was working the mechanical bull this winter, I was staying in Phoenix and I was partnered with my friend Sam Foreman and our total approach time was like 6 hours because you have to drive 2 hours to Sedona and then you have to hike for an hour through the woods and you get to the climb and it's really exhausting and so you really only have like one or two goes in you and then you have to come back and he wanted to take two rest days in between. So you have like one or two tries every 3 days and you spend 3 hours like plus all those extra days walking up to the climb like thinking about it and I
Yeah.
think it's easy to psych yourself out.
Yeah.
But I think I've gotten a lot better at like staying calm and visualizing, I think is a big strength of mine. Like
Yeah.
before I've sent every climb in like the last year, I've had a full like visualization session where I'm basically sending it in my head and I'm breathing hard like in my head and I'm looking down at my gear and I'm feeling the fear in my head as I'm doing it. And
Yeah.
sometimes there's so much beta that it's hard to do that. Like on Bellyful, I think it took me like an hour and a half of mental effort to send it in my head at the base of the route. And then I had to like take a nap for like an hour and then I was able to do it.
Oh, wow.
Um, yeah, I think that's so important because you have to understand how it's going to feel when you're trying super hard and you think maybe this is it and you feel yourself kind of mess up and then work through that mentally. And um, then when you go on to it, like it doesn't, you don't expect to you don't expect to when something wrong go when like something bad happens, you don't expect to just fail. You expect to move through it.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, I think I've gotten better at that this winter. Also at like not losing my freaking mind when I punt off the last move,
Yeah.
and just seeing it, being like, oh, it's okay because that actually is the crux, and I'm like working through this beta, and I'm just progressing. I
Yeah.
used to lose my mind when I like was so close, like when I fell
Right.
off the Angry Pirate, in November 2023. That was also right after I got laid off, so I was like, and I had gone through a breakup recently, so I was like, oh my gosh, like nothing's going right, and I just blew my chance at my first 513. I gotta wait 11 months to try again. And
Yeah.
I was so sad I couldn't even cry. I was just like, this
Yeah.
isn't happening. This isn't happening. But then I channeled all that rage into like a gym era and came back strong and got it. But um now I think I've been, I've had a couple like last minute punts where I haven't freaked out. And hopefully I can take that mental toughness into Century and that like positivity of like, no, this is the crux. Like it's fine if you
Yeah.
it wasn't like I almost got it. It's like this has to happen. The gods of linear progress have to test you, make sure you're worthy, like mentally, psychologically, and
Yeah.
then they will bestow more gifts upon you. But if you don't show gratitude, they're going to take it all away.
Yeah. They bestow a little cake for you, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, but I think like it's okay to be. I think it's okay to be right emotional, right? I think if you invest
Yeah.
a lot, if you invest a lot into something, right, sometimes it's just an expression of like emotion and passion, right? That's okay.
Oh yeah. Yeah. I'm definitely like not ever judgy of people getting emotional on climbs. Like when people fall and they start like screaming and like they're like no, like I love that. I
Yeah,
especially
yeah,
love
yeah,
when women
yeah.
when women do it. Like I once saw Mari Salveson. on her flash go on the Angry Pirate, which is really hard to flash. Like when I do it, I do a full cartwheel and then there's like a lot of really tricky sequences where you have to go slightly up with your feet, but you have to just know when to do that. And so she was trying to flash it, we were spraying her down, but it's still hard to feel out. And she had a really good go. She made it like halfway, and then I remember like when she fell, she had this like it was like a primordial rage scream. I thought she was like a Norse goddess. Like her hair was like spilling out of her braid and she was like
Yeah,
closing her eyes and she's like, and I'm just like, wow, like she was trying so hard.
yeah,
And it's amazing to see a woman who's out there, not just trying to like keep it down, keep it calm, but like
yeah,
who wants this and who
yeah.
is like just screaming for it and like cares about it and is fighting for it. And I was just like, I was right below her. I was like, whoa, like that's incredible. I was
That's
very
cool.
impressed. Yeah, and I
Yeah,
mean, I look up to like climbers like Emily Harrington, who like has talked about how she gets emotional on the wall when she's working her projects, and um, yeah, I'm lucky to be surrounded by friends who understand that when I have my emotional reaction, whether it's good or bad, that's
yeah.
just like that's okay and it's temporary and you're processing, and
Of course it is.
yeah, and it's dramatic too, like it's
Well, yeah,
it's
it is
cool.
dramatic. Well, yeah, I mean, it is in the moment, right? You're giving it
Hmm.
everything you've got in the moment, and it is emotional. And then when you stand back and look at it, you're like, it's only climbing, right? Why am I getting so emotional?
Yeah, I've like never gotten to that. Like people are like, climbing is dumb. Like, why do we care that much? Like, I've just never had that question in my mind. To
Yeah,
me,
yeah,
it's
yeah,
very
yeah,
dramatic. To me,
yeah,
it is incredibly important.
yeah, yeah, yeah. It's giving everything you've got on the line. It feels emotional. It feels you bearing all, and it's just, yeah, you're pushing, and yeah, you fall off. It's just like, yeah, just want to get rid of that emotion, right? So
Yeah, and it's okay to want things. Like it's okay to not be completely zen all the time and not, just be like, that's fine. Like, and sometimes you do need to do that for a
yeah,
project. Like sometimes you need to psych yourself into thinking that it's just super chill because the pressure is too much. But,
yeah,
if you're okay letting yourself know that you want it, like you want it. It's for century, it's impossible to hide the fact that like that's what I'm going for and that's what I want. And I'm gonna have the reaction that I'm gonna have. Yeah, it's hard to like be emotional in front of other people though, especially if you don't know them. They're just like random people who showed up the crag and then, you fall off the crux and you're just like, "Oh."
yeah,
And then
okay,
there's this
yeah,
awkward moment of silence and then you're just like, all right, guys, like
yeah.
that was
It's
pretty good.
okay.
And
I'm alive. Yeah,
it's like, I actually think that was a great go. Like you can let me
yeah,
down.
yeah. I don't know. Yeah, I don't know how people feel. I think when I'm watching others, like, I think it's cool, right? It's cool when people lay out on the line. And it doesn't matter whether you're a beginner climber or whether you're an experienced climber, if you're giving it all you've got, then and you kind of letting everyone know, it's inspiring to see. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's also a good opportunity to like practice positive self-talk. That used to be one of my weaknesses in climbing that like Mary had some very serious talks with me about. She was like, you cannot keep beating yourself up for like not immediately sending your project and talking about yourself as if you're weak. Like you have to focus on talking about yourself in a
Yeah.
positive way or it's
Yeah.
going to completely destroy you. And
Yeah.
I took that pretty seriously. I thought about it. She's like, you're going to have to like go back to 5.6, 5.7 if you can't solve this because it's going to ruin climbing.
Yeah.
Um, and so I focused on that a lot. I think it was 2022. I'm forgetting what year, but I focused on that a lot for like a whole season where whenever I fell, I would have my reaction, but then I made sure that the next thing that I said to myself was encouraging and positive. And now it's just so ingrained in me every time I fall to like focus on what went right and why that was a success.
Yeah.
And now it's just like reflexive. So
Yeah.
I mean that's good mentorship.
Yeah. Yeah.
Someone's
Yeah.
like they're not just giving you a piece of advice you can take or leave. They're like making you care about it and letting you know how big of a deal it's going to be.
Yeah. 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 It's looking at it objectively, isn't it? It's like what went well, what didn't go well, and what can I improve on? What is it? Why did I fall off? Was it
Hmm.
because I don't have the physical strength? Was it a certain hold I missed? Why was it? Yeah, it's
Hmm.
try and analyze it, isn't it? And I think like you as a computer science person, I guess you're very analytical and detail focused, and I'm sure that really helps in analyzing your climbing.
Yeah, definitely. I
Yeah,
consider myself like both a mathy logic person and also like a creative writing, history,
Yeah, yeah,
people
yeah,
person.
yeah,
Yeah, people make that dichotomy a lot and I never really understood it. I'm like, you're investigating is, you're investigating. Like you're trying to understand how things work and, how things feel and
yeah,
predicting what's going to happen in the future. Like that's both creative and also, logical.
yeah, 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 yeah. And I was going to say a couple other things that y your strength is setting goals, the ability to work hard, and being super focused.
Thanks.
Yeah,
Appreciate that.
yeah, that's cool. Yeah, well, I appreciate your time. Thanks for
Yeah, this was
talking.
fun. Yeah, thanks so much for inviting me.
Yeah, thanks for talking.
Yeah.
So I hope you guys enjoyed the this episode with Sam MacIlwaine. It was really great and inspiring to chat to her, talking about off with climbing, etc. If you guys have any suggestions about topics you'd like us to talk about, please send us a message on social media or send us an email, and we'll try and do our best. See you guys next time.